getting what they need from their CRM applications that corporate has rolled out to the rest of the organization, getting the medical science teams what they need, the medical science liaisons, they're sometimes called, right? That have to answer the medical questions that come up from the providers, right? Making them an embedded part of the team and getting them the functionality that they need and keeping the information that they share with the providers away from the eyes of the med reps themselves. That's possible now. Product launch teams, again, different processes, different needs, everything, whether at the bottom, second from the bottom there, right? If the behemoth, the battleship is not going away, right? But you can have a barracuda and some cruisers to kind of have below the water and above the water metaphors, complementing a big Viva system, right? Integrating with that system really in a quite straightforward manner so that all your teams have the functionality that they need. And I want to close with the healthcare because I'm, from Maryland's Department of Health. I've got a lot of passion about healthcare service and my experience happened to be in some community-based, for whatever reasons, I ended up in developmental disabilities and behavioral health, trying to help with technology platforms and transitioning to more home-based care. And the ability to deploy the tablets that have the geofencing so that you can check in for electronic verification, that visits are being made and services are being delivered, questionnaires in place for people who are better served in their home environments, right? Their community environments. This is casework taken to the next step. Collect the data and then have it integrate. Maybe the organization has its own EMR already, integrate with that, integrate with a state's health information exchange. This is all possible today with low code in a way that was not even thinkable 3-4 years ago, Eric. And I'm just trying to whet people's appetites and get them excited to ask more questions and learn more and test whether what I've been saying over the last few minutes is actually true. And so I think we're at our time contract, and Eric, I'll turn it back to you.
All right, thanks, David. Yeah, phenomenal, phenomenal presentation as always. And I think you did. You brought up some great points. The power of low code can help in so many different ways. Promoting better health outcomes, right, in healthcare. Promoting, better ways to do business for providers, right? Things like you look at no-shows, you look at all the things that are costing healthcare providers, quite a bit of money. We can start to build processes around that to ensure we cut down that. So I think that, you brought up a lot of great points, David. And as always, we love to hear your expertise.
Did we get poll results, by the way?
Oh, you know what? We did. Let me just pull it back up here. We did. Yeah. So here are the poll results. You ready? Adapt to market changes came in number one, right? So a little over 42%, and followed closely by get better adoption of tech at 25%. So, pretty much as expected. Again, I think all of these questions could have an all of the above. That would always win out. But yeah, so definitely inspirational to the audience here.
All right. Well, thanks, Eric, and by the way, thanks to the whole Creatio marketing team that helped me with the presentation here. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, David. All right, and that brings us to our next session. And I'm pleased to welcome Davey Daban, founder of Webrix. Davey, been a minute since we've talked. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you, Eric?
Doing very well, sir. Glad to see you. Glad to have you on our low code marathon.
Always.
Yeah, and we're really looking forward to your session as well. I love talking about real life examples, and I know that you have some great content to share with the audience. So we'll be talking about leveraging low-code technologies to lead customer-centric strategy, international patient-centered experience. I just love the title of this because it really encapsulates a lot. So what I'll do is I'll have you grab control of the screen,
Mhm.
and I'll let you start your presentation. Let me know if you need anything.
Yes, thank you. Before I start, I want to say I love David's presentation. I think he should get his own TV show. So
Right?
thumbs up. Thank you. So yes, we're talking about the International Patient Center today. I think I'm controlling the screen. Perfect. So International Patient Center, a Dutch company, Dutch founded company, by the way. It's a joint effort of KLM Health Services, which is the Royal Airline in the Netherlands, the Erasmus Medical Center hospitals, and the Schiphol Group, which is the Dutch airfare organization. And IPC is taking care of patients in over 80 countries now. And as we slide, so what did they do? So let's say you're living in abroad, America, wherever, and you need specific medical support. You want to have a surgery in a specific medical field, and you need an expert. Then IPC will help you with the right assistance, with your travel arrangements, your medical arrangements, your appointments at hospitals, and everything in the Netherlands. So, as I said, they have a partnership exclusive with Erasmus MC and the Royal Schiphol Group and KLM Health Services. I want to show a bit about what we did for the IPC with Creatio. And it's actually a fun story because IPC was one of our first customers for Creatio CRM. So although we have a lot of experience with CRM over 17 years, this was one of the first customers, and it was a new company. So when IPC was founded by the three organizations, that is actually when we stepped in. And that was in 2017. They signed with Creatio, and we had to launch very quickly because they had to start. Actually, they said, next week we want to start. You know how that goes, Eric. Everything is next day. So we did development, training, and launch within less than a month, which was impressive. And then we used February, March for iterative development and deployment of new functions. And then in March 2020, a new team has been assigned to IPC. That means all the employees changed and everybody had to look and learn at Creatio again. Happy to say that they picked up Creatio really fast. It's really user-friendly. You know, you don't have to think too much. The program does the work for you as it should. So as I said, the launch, very short timeline. They wanted to get the whole online requests for treatments, follow up and running as soon as possible. So we did less than a month, 3 weeks, and we were up and running for IPC. So as I said, we started when the companies founded. Obviously, they didn't have a CRM, which also meant we didn't have any business process. We didn't have any data, nothing to look at and say, okay, this is how it should work. So it was a very intensive, agile approach to connect with the customer, go live, go on site with the customer, have all these meetings and kind of brainstorm sessions to see what do you want, what is your needs, what do you want to do for your customers, and how do we translate that in a no-code environment in Creatio. So obviously, because Creatio is very flexible, that was a big need for them in the COVID pandemic. Obviously, COVID touches every industry we know. Makes it very difficult if you focus on a specific branch and workflow. And it was therefore that in Creatio, with the workflow is very dynamic. You can change workflows on the go, even when users are working. And that was something not only IPC loved, but other, especially nonprofits, which has to change very quickly because all the donations went down. That was a must too. So as I wrote down, they didn't have any specific requirements. They want to go soon, as live as possible, so that either the team that could work with them on site, think with them, and kind of together build this whole CRM environment. A bit of the patient flow. So people, clients, patients seeking treatments from abroad in the Netherlands. And it could be a personal request, could be a GP's request, medical request. They contact IPC via online. So you fill in your online medical details, you make a request. The doctors actually in IPC and Erasmus Medical Center do the assessment for your patients and get feedback. And although this patient flow looks very simple, obviously you know how it goes in Creatio. Every step has automated flows, have a lot of data you need to take care of, check, especially with the GPDR, which is a huge thing for the last couple of years, how you keep your data safe. And there was also all kinds of things they looked at when choosing a platform. Security is very important. It also, again, points out that the security of Creatio obviously checks all the boxes, no problem there. From all the data in transaction, you get obviously the medical information, the trip preparation, people arrive in the Netherlands, they need transport, they need housing, hotel, or specific housing at the medical centers. And then obviously the admission in the hospitals. And that could be either one appointment, could be surgery in and out the same day, could be weeks, could be months. And IPC is tracking all that information, make sure that they get picked up at the hotel, be at the appointments on time, be at the surgery on time, and treating, like joining them all the ways, just like almost like a buddy. After the treatments, obviously, aftercare is very important to make sure that in combination with the travel agency and KLM Health Services, that everything is arranged. If you had your medical treatments, you have surgery, you need, for example, oxygen on the plane, everything that needs to be taken care of is usually pretty difficult procedures. IPC makes sure that all those procedures get done, and you can just step on your plane, go home, be with your family very easily. Very important. So a single view of patient. Obviously, one patient can have multiple treatments and requests. So you have to make sure that when a request comes in, Creatio makes sure that we recognize that patient, we link all information to the correct patient, update all the information correct, not only in Creatio, but also to any other system that is connected. And usually these medical systems, website integration, a lot of online treatment request forms. Obviously, during COVID, they had to seek other ways to expand. That's why they expanded to Russia, to China, working in America now as well. So different web forms in different languages, which also makes sure that, Creatio can be available in different languages. So if you use the Creatio portal, customer portal, partner portals, those people can see the information in an interface in their own language, which really helps understanding the questions, the information that they see. Obviously, registered not only the request, but almost the treatments, the medical assessments, receiving estimates and quotes for hospitals, offering quotes to patients, invoices to patients, all the appointments, aftercare and follow-ups. And as I said, like medical hotels, medical transport, home care, medical supply, everything is taken care of by IPC. So what we build is obviously the integration with the web forms. And I'm just happy to say that IPC is taking care of their own web forms now, because Creatio cannot only do a lot, but is also very friendly to use and to adjust. So if we look at IPC at this moment with the team, all customizations, they do themselves. So we only get phone calls sometimes like, hey, I'm trying to build this process. I'm not sure how this works, but 99% of the work is done by IPC employees directly, which is awesome. obviously building treatment objects for intake, medical assessment, quoting, invoicing, traveling, planning, treatment, aftercare. And as you know, they build their own case flows. They adjust their own screens. They even build their own business processes, which is maybe the most difficult thing of Creatio, if you can call it difficult. They can do anything they want. I really love that. And they also help us with a full translation to a Dutch environment. And obviously, thanks to all the other original partners, to any other language needed to be in the portals. So what did we learn from IPC? Well, obviously, get a lot of knowledge. As I said, IPC was a starting company, which means we didn't have any information to start with, to base our knowledge on. So communication is always key. That means go to your customers, talk to your customers, keep asking questions, make sure that you do it together, you know. And that's also one of the good things about low code, is that you don't have to, like the old water flow. You can easily change your processes. If they don't like what we build today, we'll do it differently tomorrow. Communication is key, because don't wait for answers too long. If you're waiting for your customer to come back to something, it might be because they either don't understand your question or are very busy. But just make sure that keep that process going. Just be proactive, get in there, and maybe just design something as an example, so the customer gets a better view, an idea of what is possible, and that will give them much more ideas to build further on. Obviously, in the whole flows, we build a lot of complex business processes, and that's a good thing about Creatio. The way we build business process, maybe easy to know, is we use a lot of sub-processes. And in that way, if you have long and complex business processes and you use sub-processes, it's kind of working agile, So just break it up in little pieces. If you want to change something, do it in one of those pieces. Easier to test, easier to find any issues if there might be. So that is the use of the sub-processes. So what did we do differently? Well, it was different because, as you know, one of our first Creatio customers, that was new not only to us, but also for this customer. They knew that, so we went into it together, had a lot of fun together, a lot of good meetings, and we built an awesome environment, which they are very happy with until the day of today. So that also means you make a lot of changes during that process in the years. And because they were a new company, maybe at the beginning every week at least, and after that every month, they're like, okay, but maybe we can do this differently, or maybe we can do that. And in any system, that creates a lot of clutter. So the great part of Creatio is you can change field to a non-usage, so they won't even see the field anymore. But just as a service to this customer, also we created a new clean environment and transferred all the data. So they could start with a very clean, brand new environment with all the old clutter. I think keys to success are a partnership between the customer and supplier. As I said, we've been doing CRM for like 17, 18 years now. We worked with a lot of CRM vendors. And I must say that I love the relationship we have with Creatio, because how fun is it if your vendor supplier doesn't only listen to you, but also to your customer? So that is one. Very personal relationships is a must when you deal with a CRM supplier. And also take the time to make sure you get to know your customers and offer them the best service. And that means sometimes you just have to go that extra mile, So it doesn't matter if you spend time in your customer. Some companies say, okay, but that's money, we should charge per hour. But I mean, if you want to keep your customers for the long run, just make this a healthy relationship, that should be balanced. And it also means, like, if your customer grows, you grow. And it's never about the short term. If you sell and you lose your customer, it just hurts your reputation. And I'm happy to say that every single Creatio customer we have is a happy one, and we will never ever going to lose one.
That's great. Love to hear that, Davey.
Yes, I went through it very fast, I think, Eric, because we
Yeah,
didn't
no,
have a
that
lot of
was
time.
very good. I mean, so I don't think you and I actually sat down and talked about, International Patient Center. I was probably as amazed as the audience as you kind of went through all the ways that low code was utilized to create such a, you think about all those moving parts, everything from intake to aftercare. And all the things that might change in between that. I can't imagine putting together, and coordinating that whole, process without low code. So just an amazing story. I was completely impressed.
Thank you, definitely. Now, I mean, low code is so easy to use, and it's also something we will keep discussing today. We will be back in a session or two,
Yeah.
and then go a bit deeper on the subject as well, together with David and Yuri.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Yeah, and I know that. Yeah, and the chat is like alive with. Yeah, I think you've got some admirers. I see hearts and things in the chat. But there's a great question, and since it is the low code marathon, I'll ask it here. So, if you had to choose one, what is your own personal favorite thing about low code?
well, I think my personal favorite thing is the thing that I see every day when I need to give help my customers with demos is I'm not the developer. I mean, my colleagues know everything about development and they can build everything they want, and I never could. And now with Creatio, if the customers ask something, I need a new screen, or I need a new business flow, I need a new business process, I can build anything they want. So where I, with previous systems, would need my colleagues in a project for like, let's say, I could do 60% myself, and they needed to do the rest in coding. With Creatio, I can maybe do 95% myself, which not only awesome for me, but also like for the customers. As I said, at IPC, they're making their own changes, and that's exactly the way we like our customers to work. We always tell them, try. Every customer has an acceptance environment where they can play with Creatio or use a trial version, and they can call us whenever they need to. But it's so easy, and that makes happy customers.
Oh, 1,000%, 1,000%. And that's always the way, when I'm talking with customers or we're starting to work with customers, it may start off as a small use case, right?
Yeah.
And then once they see like what they can accomplish with it, it just grows from there. And you see, light bulbs going off and big smiles. I love it. I love it.
I had a question yesterday at a demo. Somebody asked me, what can Creatio not do? To be honest, Eric, I had to ask my colleagues, and they didn't know either. So if somebody knows, just let me know. So
yeah, exactly. That's always a question. What can you automate with with the Creatio platform? I hate to say it, but virtually anything, like anything you want.
As long as you have the data and you have the logic, it's possible.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, Davey, I appreciate you joining our session today. As always, amazing. And thank you for joining again. It's going to be well represented on day 9 of the Low Code Marathon.
Thank you so much for having me. Good luck, and see you in a bit again.
Thanks, Davey.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Cheers. All right. We will now move on to our next session. If I can control the screen, here we go. All right, so exciting update from Davey. And just as exciting, we have another great session, this time with Bivendra Narangoda, COO of Mitra Innovations. So Bivendra will be talking about increasing employee productivity, well-being, and safety using low-code technology. So Bivendra, I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Hello, everyone. It's great to be at Creatio Low Code Marathon event. In my speech, I would like to demo a product which Mitra has developed using Creatio Low Code technology that focuses on increasing corporate employee experience and thereby employee engagement, productivity, well-being, and safety. My name is Bivendra Narangode. I'm the COO for Mitra Ventures, and Mitra is a global implementation partner of Creatio. The pandemic has changed the ways of working for corporates around the world. Working remotely has become an accepted working model, and employees have responded stating that post-pandemic that they would like to work from office and home in a working arrangement where they get to work remotely as opposed to work full-time at an office. The CTOs are focusing more technology to support productivity boost, as the productivity drop is quite evident due to the remote working. Also, employee mental health, work stress has now become more prominent than ever before, as employees lack social activities more regular basis. In fact, the new guidelines around the world, such as ISO 45003, focuses more on the corporate responsibility on duty of care. Employee retention and getting them really engaged to work has become top priority for the CEOs and the HR directors. However, the lack of employee experience framework, the ability to integrate with existing HR system to collate and analyze data makes it more impossible for corporates to measure and improve employee experience and engagement. Many employee assistance programs and employee welfare initiatives do not seem to address core concerns of the employees with regards to the work experience. So you could see that there is the global business challenge around it, and the need to address this is becoming more important and prominent. Therefore, clearly there is a business need to increase employee experience on various aspects, including corporate culture, the physical and emotional well-being, environmental and ways of working, career well-being, and reward and strategy, etc. However, after speaking to hundreds of corporates, we find that there is no standard employee experience framework to manage this expectation. Now, due to this lack of integration to the existing HR systems, the HR directors are struggling to get a true picture of employee insights or to action on the areas of improvements. Because of this lack of visibility, corporates are really struggling to measure the impact of employee engagement and absenteeism, presenteeism, attrition, and how much of money and how much of its cost to the employers. So Mitra, as part of our product portfolio, had been working on a solution to address this market gap. The solution is called Dynamedics. It is a digital platform which enables organizations to listen to employee concerns in a frequent manner and take necessary action to improve overall experience, which in turn increase employee well-being, productivity, and employee safety. Platform has taken into many factors in addressing a mechanism to improve the employee experience, including multinational, multicultural workforce and their changing needs post-pandemic situation. Dynamedic has a rich mobile interface for employees to communicate how they feel about their experience within the organization, while the senior management and the HR department get access to a very highly insightful dashboard developed using the Creatio low code. The platform uses dynamic questionnaire surveys to collect the employee responses to the various aspects related to the employee experience, including the physical and mental well-being, the leadership and culture of the organization, and how friendly the environment and the ways of working. Now, this disrupts the typical once-a-year survey method and provides a rich, up-to-date, timely response from employee over the areas that relates to them. Creatio process this data and generate rich, deep insights for the senior management and HR directors to really zoom in to the actual areas of concerns to the employees and make corrective actions for improvements. By combining these data pulled from the external HR systems and financial systems, the platform is able to provide rich insights to the corporates. Sounds interesting? Let's move on to a quick demo. This is the mobile interface provided to the employees of the organization. As an employee, I would need to sign into the platform. I can either do a single sign-on using my corporate email ID, or I could enter my email and password set up by the administrator to log into the application. The authentication will be handled via backend with AD integration or via the identity management framework. Next, the application will take me to the data usage terms and condition policy. Here, I will have to provide my consent to agree on the terms and conditions set by the organization and also per the regulatory standards. This is only a one-time screen, and the next time I log in, this screen will not reappear. I have now landed to the preference screens where I can now select the aspect that matter to me and where I want to improve my experience within the organization. I must select minimum 3 from the list, and I can do so by ticking the circle in front of each aspect. These aspects are defined by the organization, and as you can see, it addresses overall aspects related to the employee experience. Under each aspect, I will have the ability to click more to understand what each aspects mean with more details. So here I have selected 3 aspects that matter to me, namely environment and ways of working, technology, leadership, and culture. By selecting these aspects, I will get access to digital interest groups where I can get to join a group of people who have the same interests as mine within the organization. Further, I will also get access to digital resources such as training, news, best practices, industry trends. Next, I'll be navigated to the home page. Here I will get access to the global news within the organization. The news can either be form of a video, podcast, text articles, and the app is designed in such a way that increases the communication between the execs and employees. I will also see the interest groups I could join based on the preferences I select in the previous screen. While I'm on the app, I will be getting short questionnaires to respond, which will pop up on my screen. These short questionnaires will check my well-being, whether I'm getting enough support with my work, whether I'm working remotely or at office, which is important information to my organization to help me to be effective in my job role. While these short questions are asked from me on a frequently basis, I will also get a bit of a long questionnaire to assess whether I'm engaged with my work that I'm doing at the organization, whether I have any concerns about my safety, my workload, my line manager or the team that I'm working with, or any other aspects to help me to be happy at work. These long questionnaires will appear once in a month on based on how the organization set them in. Even though there are multiple questions to be answered, I find it not so difficult because the app provides me a very intuitive interface where I could simply tap in front of each question to record my response. Further, this will provide me as an employee an opportunity to provide the real status of my experience within the organization and also to point out any areas concerning to me. Next, I will quickly show you what I would see when I join to an interest group. The app will show me the stats around how many employees have joined the interest group so far and how many active posts are available and details on specific events happening in the future. I'm also able to view previous posts and read on them. I could also create a post by myself, which is related to the interest group. The post could include a video, audio, text file. Once the post is created, it will be visible to everyone in the interest group and they can like the post and comment on the post. I could also get access to digital content related to the interest of my interest group for my personal and professional development and to generate ideas for improvements to the group. The best ideas that needs implementation for improvements could be passed to the senior execs of the organization using the application. Here you will also see the capability of the platform where it is capable of streaming digital content that could be helpful for employees for their personal and career development. Based on the questionnaire response, the app will provide a personal digital content which are relevant to the individual. Now I will show you the data analytics and the dashboard which are developed using the Creatio low-code technology. This is a web portal and the HR directors or the senior execs of the organization will get access to this portal. All the data collected from the mobile platform will be processed to generate these dashboards. Now, when I log in as a senior exec of the organization or an HR director, I would be able to get rich insights about the employee engagement, well-being, productivity, and many other important aspects. As you can see, the platform is using data science and proven algorithms to calculate the workplace health index to denote the employee experience as a percentage of value. I could also see whether the employee well-being of the employees are in good shape. And if not, the platform will also provide certain suggestions on improvement activities. The portal will also provide me stats regarding where people are working from today, whether they are working from home, from office, from a client site, or any other remote location. Portal will also have the questionnaire responses for each department and also the top contributors for the interest groups to get them recognized and rewarded. Portal will also show some very important insights with regards to the absenteeism, the cost of absenteeism, the productivity loss, the cost of attrition. Now, Creatio backend process this data collected from the employees and from the data pulled in from the HR and finance systems to provide these financial insights. In addition to that, on the left pane has many other dashboards. There are detailed insights. You can get various aspects of the employee experience and the engagement. If you'd like to know more details around this, please contact us through Creatio Marketplace or visit our website, www.mitrai.com. Thank you for listening.
All right. So yet another amazing session, just full of insights. It's been a great day, day 9 here of the Low Code Marathon, and that brings us to our final session. I love these digital circles. It's always a lively discussion. It's always good to hear from my colleagues that we see on the screen here. Today we're joined by Mike Richmond. He is an account executive here at Creatio, and he's actually going to be leading the discussion. I get to go on cruise control this afternoon. So perfect. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you.
All right. We're also joined by Yuri Yushkov, CEO of Velvetech. Welcome, Yuri. All right. Once again, back by popular demand, here's Davey Damon, founder of Webrix, fresh off of his last session. And also equally backed by popular demand, David Lasher, partner at Keen 360. Hello again, David.
Hello again. Glad to be here.
All right, excellent. So, Mike, I'm gonna give you the reins, and you can take it from here, sir.
I will take it from here, Eric.
All right.
Thank you. Enjoy your break there. This is going to be a great. Yeah, this is going to be a fun 40 minutes, guys. It's been a great week. It's been a great low code marathon, and we made it to a Friday. Thanks everyone for sticking with us. We're not letting off the gas here on a Friday. It's been a great marathon, and this live digital circle discussion is going to be right on topic. We've been talking about healthcare, pharma industries, been talking about low code. Now we're going to talk about prioritizations. Prioritizations 2021. What are these initiatives that we should prioritize within these industries? From disruption to digital transformation, vice versa. We've got a great panel of speakers here to talk about these prioritizations in these industries today. David, Davey, Yuri, thanks for joining us here this afternoon.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, so I guess we'll get right into the discussion, guys. These are hot topics, and I'm excited to hear your tidbits of info. I'll chime in, with my opinions as well. Let's just start off talking about life sciences first of all. So, life science companies, we're talking pharmaceutical, biotech, medical device manufacturers. So, where should we start here? What do you guys see as their top need, top priority of which low code could help these organizations? Who would like to start?
I don't mind.
I think we're going to get this.
What do you think? What's a top priority, David?
And you can hear me, right? Yes.
Yeah, loud and clear. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So this is a wide net we're casting, right? So I'm gonna pick one of the lakes that is available to us, and it's in life sciences and commercial operations. What I'm very attuned to is from where we operate in the marketplace is companies that are emerging from their clinical trials, as I was talking about in the prior session, and they're launching their commercial teams, right? Taking their meds, taking their molecules to market, so that people can get better by consuming them, right? So, what's the challenge? The challenge has been that the legacy platforms in place, while maybe being suitable for large established big pharma, right, have been ill-suited to the needs of companies that are launching small teams, starting small, but are rapidly going to expand, right? In 12 to 24 months. They're going to go through, in that 12 to 24, 36 months, they're going to go through whole different identities internally as to what their priorities are, right? And how their teams are constituted. And they're still at the point where they're not realizing revenue. They're consuming the capital, the investment funds that they got. And so cost does matter, right? I would argue big pharma isn't always as cost sensitive. There's rationality to that, right? I'm not saying otherwise, but they've got the revenue stream. So what's the opportunity? What's the priority? I think that if you're one of these life sciences companies and you've gotten through phase 2 FDA approvals for a new drug or your first drug and compound, whatever it might be, I think that it's the priority is to open the aperture beyond the brands and platforms that you already know, right, and are comfortable with, frankly, right, and consider something that might serve you appropriately, both in the immediate term and in the longer term, as you go through this process of launching your team, taking your new medications, drugs into the market. That's where I think low code can be extremely valuable to an organization. So that's the clinical to commercial transition is my answer.
Clinical to commercial transition. Cool. So Dave, I see you next on my screen here. What are your thoughts about prioritization for low code within the life science industry?
Well, if we look, obviously, David and Yuri and I are from different parts of the world, which there's a good few. If we look at the Netherlands, we've seen that the transition of development in the health industry in general has been moving very slowly. And due to COVID, everybody has to get up and running all of a sudden. And that's why you see where low code is really important for other companies, and low code, especially also in this region, really gets up and kicking, because a lot of structures they already have in place are built for a certain purpose. It's kind of, you're working in the box. And what you see with low code is it's very easy to get small pieces. And that's also how companies start. So they have a system in place and they start using low code for specific functionalities which we want to connect to that environment they already have. So I think it's very important for the IT landscape to go whole local, because the flexibility you have, it's, for example, what we see in the Netherlands is they're changing everything from kind of on-premise to online. And all the rules keep changing, not just because of COVID, but also with the GDPR and all the other rules and regulations you keep having and changing. Is that low-code makes it very easier to change and be flexible and to go with those changes. One of the things we see in this region is we're working with e-health monitoring now. So a lot of sensors, we call it e-ICU. So people can stay at home and still get all their vitals monitored. We see e-consulting by doctors. Now, since this year, I can actually see my own patient file online. I can make an appointment with my doctor online. You don't have to call and get 10 minutes to listen to all the menu options, and then she's on a break and you have to go back in half an hour. You can easily go online, create your own appointments. And those are things that are developing right now. And I think the biggest priority is to consolidate that information, because the hospital has a piece of information for me, my GP has a piece of information, the pharmacy. And I think it's very important that all that data needs to be connected so everybody knows how to help you a lot quicker. Because now, you have to sign 20 forms, put a stamp on it. I mean, those still exist, stamp on it, go to the letterbox and give somebody permission to see your information or to exchange your information. And that's all kinds of things that you can easily handle online now.
Nice. Consolidation of data. So great. I appreciate that input there. So we're on a roll here. Yuri, as far as prioritizations from your opinion within the life sciences industry, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, thanks. And I'd like to build on David and Davy's inputs, especially in connecting the activities or data inputs or devices. It's very important to have a robust platform. We are living in a connected world, and it's a given. We see lots and lots of developments happening in the medical device, remote patient monitoring, and how this merges from the data standpoint with patient input and provider input and the pharmaceutical. From the care coordination perspective, it's very important to have the platform that can work efficiently from the process orchestration standpoint with the IoT, Internet of Things data flows that's coming in, acquired from whatever the source is. It can be a patient, it can be a provider, it can be facility where the service is provided. It all comes to a data lake. And then how do we operate based on this data? Actually, I can highlight the two major investment areas that both the life sciences and pharmaceutical and medical device and care systems are investing is the data processing. Analytics, data, everything is run on data. But then when we have the right data, when we see the right data points and we have everything on our dashboard, how do we apply this to operations? Obviously, we use the processes. We need to orchestrate the activities around those data points. And we need to have proper follow-up protocols depending on triggering events, some outliers that we see from the data and stuff like that. So when you look at the IT framework and infrastructure that supports these industries, the data architecture and the data governance goes side by side with processes, activities, management, and flow of information from one department to another. And also is connected to how the companies are operating. With the challenges they have in the personnel and talent acquisition, obviously it's important to have the right tool for teaming and for building the efficient team that delivers the service, that works with the customer and provides this support for the company's business model. So when you have the right activities managed on the low-code platform, you truly become the agile organization as far as how your team is managed and responds to the challenges. And I think it's very important to have the right low-code platform at your disposal to hit those objectives.
Exactly. Fantastic. So we've got some great opinions of prioritization. So this, I think, is a great time to launch a poll. So let's do that. So for our first poll, it's as simple as we've been discussing. What is your top IT related priority this year? So we can improve. Well, you see the choices there, everyone. Why don't you participate in a poll, and then we'll read the results in a little bit. It can be improve clinical and lab systems. It can be realized value from CRM systems, support mobile and remote caregivers, archive interoperability across systems, and obtain insight from patient data. What may the top priority be? We'll soon see. And just real quick, guys, I have an actual real life example. So I, as an account executive here at Creatio, work with pharmaceutical organizations, companies, all the time. So one of our newer customers, they simply wanted to increase their market share. They wanted to move faster, accelerate, and make more sales. They just wanted to improve their current processes. Before their low-code platform, they had to look into about 4 different systems. They had several data lakes. Every time someone would place a call to request an order form and make an order, they had to go in one system to look at a certain amount of data, look in another system for a credit check, look in another system for their product book. So they had multiple systems. It took too long just to facilitate an order and make recommendations for products and services. So with a low-code platform now, we were able to easily integrate with other systems and pull all these other data lakes into one single pane of glass. So now when their customers call, they have all the information that they used to have to go into different systems to make intelligent decisions and be able to handle those orders a lot more quickly. And on top of that, in the low-code platform, it also makes recommendations based on that purchaser's previous history. It says, if you've purchased this, then you should also be purchasing that. So now with the low-code platform, that specific pharmacy company is able to handle orders more quickly. They're generating higher revenue, and they can increase their market or their revenue by recommending relevant products that they were not able to do so before. So that's just one real life example. And let's see here. Looks like we've got some poll results already. And there's a winner. So I'm looking at my chat over here. Realizing the value from CRM systems is leading the pack, you guys. What a great answer. That's what we're talking about. Realizing the value from CRM system is a top IT priority this year. That's great
Mike,
to see. Yeah.
Mike, I mean, from my experience, the way I interpret that is that there's a lot of people out there seeing the same thing in the marketplace that my business partner Keen 360 and I are seeing, which is realizing value. Putting money into a system and getting value out of it are 2 entirely different things, right? Sinking the money in is easy. Getting the value, extracting the value from it, not so much. And what I think is that there remains a lot of disappointment industry-wide,
right,
with the value being extracted, realized from the systems that are already in place. So point is, I'm gratified to hear that it seems like our audiences are seeing the same things that we're seeing.
So just to add one step to that, I love that answer too, realizing the value. On a daily basis here at Creatio, I talk about the velocity to that value. Organizations that I speak with, working with other platforms, recognize that it may take 6 months, 8 months, 10 months to recognize value from an initial deployment of a CRM, maybe over a year. With our low-code platform, people are often very excited to realize that they will recognize this value within a lot shorter of a duration, 3-4 months. So that's an exciting answer, guys. So let's go to the next question now. We're switching gears here. We were talking about life sciences, pharmaceuticals, biotech. Let's talk now about healthcare associated with providers, payers in the private, public sectors. I wonder if there's a different opportunity there for low code, different prioritization. What do we think within providers, payers, and private public sectors? There is an opportunity also for low code. Let's start with Yuri. Yuri, what do you think about those sectors and low code? Are there any differences in opportunities or priorities?
Yeah, thanks. Providers are facing with patients, and patients in today's consumer world are all going digital. So it's very important for any provider or health system, multi-specialty clinic or health center to be fully equipped with the omni-channel platform that is powered by the low code and connects them, the providers and the caregivers and other licensed uh, healthcare providers, to the patients being consumers. Patient may reach out to the patient, to the provider to schedule an appointment, to follow up on the previous visit, to check on their test results and everything like that through a number of different ways. And to have the platform that can open up the dialogue through chat, through instant messaging on the favorite mobile application, the smartphone device of the consumer, that is crucial. That is crucial to give the visibility and to facilitate access to care in right time with the right provider and also for the right cost. And in addition to that, I see a lot of trend happening in the provider setting for telemedicine. And telemedicine is part of chronic care coordination and other health programs. So when we look at those solutions that assist the providers to stay on top of the patient condition and to help them go through their treatment plan without falling off, having the correct and efficient follow-up system between the provider and the caregiver on the digital platform is indispensable. It's really something that our customers are coming us for and asking to the best in-class solution, and it's very important.
So very topical response there, Yuri. And so when we talk about telemedicine, omni-channel communications, I agree that's a top priority. In fact, David Lasher and I are working with a large healthcare organization right now, and they are trying to improve their communications, omni-channel communications associated with telehealth, because they're having a big challenge also in rural communities, right? We take for granted that we can, shoot an email or pick up the phone. There are a lot of places in this country that have a hard time communicating in general. And when healthcare facilities have to follow up with these patients when they're challenged in communications in the first place, that even heightens that challenge. So I agree. That's a great response there. So Davey, what are your thoughts there? Anything to add to that as far as opportunities for low code in these other providers and other sections?
Sure, Mike. I think I have an example with a customer of ours. It's called Humanitas. They're a national care service provider, not necessarily medical care, but mostly like ambulance care. So they have people with mental issues, elderly who need help, all things like that. They obviously had all these systems in place already. It's a big organization, thousands of people working there. It's national. Last year, August, they came to us and said, hey, we need, for a small project, just 1 year, for one of the governmental rules, we need a project, we need help to build something because our systems aren't flexible enough to create something and we need it next week. So obviously for the project, we created in 1 week, we created exactly what they needed. And the thing is, by seeing that we can easily create something and also flexible, because obviously changes will happen, changes need to be made, and because the speed of the changes we can make and keep them up to date with the data and all the dashboards. So a project that was supposed to be just for a few users and 1 year, in the meanwhile, we're not even 1 year further and we connected 8 different departments already. So slowly but surely, the systems will be replaced by low code.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Accelerating the value. So that's great to know. I love these real life examples. David, I shared the one that were about rural communication. Any other examples of low code opportunities?
Well, so yeah, I think giving the examples is great. So Yuri, I'm going to talk about one that you and I did almost about a year ago. And it was remarkable to me what we were able to do, because in my background, circa 2010, right? I was I was at IBM in the consulting organization. I was the junior executive or partner helping. We had the contract to run General Motors North American call center for dealers and customers. I think the call volumes were 120 million a year or something. It was crazy. And what was crazier, what was mind-boggling was the complexity, costs, unreliability of the whole communications background, which really was only it was really just voice only, right? Fast forward, like a smaller scale, but fast forward to this past summer, Yuri and I did a collaboration to demonstrate to a lab that was involved in COVID, and organizations trying to set up testing for their employees and safe perimeters, right? Had to be done very, very quickly for all the obvious reasons. And schools bringing back their students, universities, right? They were working last summer to be able to do so, right? And so, everybody understands this kind of science intuitively, but what about patients that are going to have questions? What about orchestrating those exceptions when a swab is supposed to be delivered on a certain day but isn't, right? I was supposed to get the results. I got some results, and now I'm terrified because it was a positive, right? The service model, right? Putting together a capable service model to be able to take those questions from any channel, get them to the people that have the answers, right? Monitor which responses are lagging and need attention and which don't. Yuri, you and your team, along me and my team, we put up the backbone in literally 4 or 5 calendar days. It was there, the technical background, right? It was voice. What do and for the audience, what do we mean by omnichannel, right? We're talking like
clarify, please.
IT nerds, right? It's voice, it's text, it's email, it's a page on your website that everybody already knows, right? Yuri, it's voice to text, right? It's integrating with, I know, Dave, in Europe, you guys like WhatsApp. Over here, we Slack, right? Right. Bringing all these channels together to one place, and then receiving into a queue, receiving the queue, triaging the queue, routing to the right people, making sure that none of the responses that need to be there. We did, Yuri, 4 or 5 days, right? We had the platform up.
All came up with the categorization of different types of cases. Those cases are routed to agents. The initiation of the cases from different channels, and the response is going back to the patient to the proper channel where they're most responsive during that time of the day. So these are the things and complexities that the low code can handle for us when we combine the artificial intelligence with the low code capability to plan and to design the proper process and workflow, and then connect that to the channels that are blended together. That's what the right platform can do for the organization in the record time. And it's
Mike,
done in the record time. That's important to highlight.
Indeed.
Here's the big point to me, right?
Another one.
Well, it's a point anyway. But here's see, if the CIO is trying to push these low code, CIOs trying to push this up the ladder, this idea, right? Okay, CIO. No, but I've worn that hat, played that role a couple different times. I'm here to tell you, nobody really wants to listen to the CIO, right? Tough job. The message here is really, I submit, for the board of directors, right? It's for the private equity firm that's running it. It's for the legislator in the assembly who doesn't know what the executive branch really could be doing that's different today, right? The paradigm shift with low code is that where the IT organization had to say no, or $1 million, $1 million, $1 million in the past, it can now be yes and the budget required can be fractions, and the timelines can again be weeks and months, sometimes days, instead of those years, right? And I think what needs to be happening is that the people who run organizations that are responsible for strategy, mission, investment, they need to be asking their teams, what are we doing with low code? And um, because I'm excited what I'm excited what can be done. I just don't think the question's being asked often enough.
So you're preaching to the choir here. Good point there. So let's move on to another question, somewhat related. I mean, we've been talking about how low code gives opportunity to accelerate and be nimble. Times are changing. Times are always changing. So recently, from the pandemic, we've seen how health-related organizations handle massive changes in short time frames. Right, some easier than others. So Davey, let's start with you. When we talk about making changes, massive changes in short time frames, this is kind of a softball question, but how can a low code platform helps in such situations when we have to be nimble, when we have to make changes quickly? Davey, what are your thoughts?
Well, it's just like I just mentioned with the case of Humanitas, existing systems, making changes. If customers ask me like, how quickly can you do this? It's more like a question, can you keep up? I mean, customers need to provide information. You need to wait for them. And a lot of cases in the project, most of the time you spend waiting for your customer to catch up, to give you the right information, to test everything. So it's very quick. Actually, before the low-code marathon today started, I had a demo for prospect, and also in a medical service field. And they kind of just they need a cockpit, so they have an IT landscape with different systems. So as you said before, every user has to have 4 screens open to get all the consolidated data. So they wanted a cockpit, and the question is like, okay, what can Creatio do to help? And it's pretty easy, in less than an hour you can show them exactly how they can do that. And also, like, the meeting was for both technical people. I think there were 3-4 developers and application managers and just a few users, and I was showing them like how to change screens, how to build processes, your workflow, but also the marketing flows, all the campaigns. And then they asked me like, okay, but what can the user do? He said, this is everything the user can do. But you as an application manager, if you want, you can do this. But as a normal user, you can do this. And a lot of our customers do this themselves. It takes a minimal amount of training and time to get a user up and running in Creatio. It's that easy. I think, low code is fast and adaptive, which also means that developers who already have a landscape like boxed in can use low code to test new functionalities, or just, as an extension to your own environment, and then hopefully slowly take over that whole environment to use low code.
All good points. Yeah, those of us that are used to low code and Creatio, maybe we take for granted the speed and simplicity of making changes, but it is worth restating. Those people who are not currently on a low code platform are very used to a very monotonous, lengthy process when it comes to making changes in the behavior of your platform. So it is worth talking more about the speed and simplicity of how low code enables organizations to accelerate. Yuri, to continue this brainstorm, any other thoughts, comments about how low code can help in situations when we need to pivot faster than normal? Additional thoughts, Yuri?
Yeah, sure. Let's imagine a department, say operations, and they come to a daily meeting and say, guys, we have this issue, this problem. How can we mitigate that? How we can solve this? What do we have? So when they discover the issue and then say, okay, let's talk to our IT for a solution, and the response from IT, okay, we can find a vendor for this, we can onboard that vendor to the process, or we can customize our existing application and solution. Yeah, it's going to take us a few weeks or maybe a few months before we roll it out. That would be the typical response that the business would hear. Then what other options are available? What if we have a low-code platform at our disposal? What if we can say, okay, we understand the problem, let's roll out a pilot that will solve this problem and see if we are right on the time and on the objective to deliver a solution. So in 2-3 days, you have this in place, and then you can scale from there because the low-code platform is truly designed for continuing that transformation moving forward. And do we need to involve programmers or hardcore developers to make it happen? No, it's a low code. We can have our consultants, or we can have our internal business analysts or even IT guys. They can adapt and can learn the system very easily and fast enough so that we can scale this pilot into the fully operational platform for this particular problem. And then what you do, you repeat. You have a new problem, you execute the same strategy as far as how you can mitigate that using low code.
Absolutely. Gosh, you guys, we've got great examples, great ideas. I'm sure the audience is excited to hear more, but we have a poll. We have another poll. Let's do another poll. Very relevant topic here. Where do you think low code might help the most? The most. So all the above is not a selection. You got to pick. Get the right tools to the right teams. Another option, support for mobile and remote professionals. Deliver insight to patients and or operations. Complement or integrate in-place systems. Collaborate across teams and organizations. There's 5 great options here. I'm very curious to see which one comes out on top. So where do you guys think the low code may help the most? So while we gather those results, let's bounce over to another question. Let's talk about analytics for a few minutes here. We love to talk about reporting, right? We're always managing, gathering, interpreting data. So organizations in life sciences, healthcare, they typically have invested considerable amount of sums in specialized platforms and services to gather their analytics and gather their insights. So those platforms, they're not going to go away, right? They've invested a lot in them. So how might a low-code platform interoperate and augment what they're already doing, what they already have in place? So for analytical purposes, reporting, dashboard, how does a low-code platform complement their existing systems for analytics? David, you want to take the first crack at that one?
Yeah, sure. And then I'm gonna go back to something that Davey said too, because I think it's important in the last discussion.
Thanks.
But I think there's some obvious answers on the analytics about interoperability. REST API, you can integrate, you can collect your data, but here's what I want to emphasize. You can't have actionable, reliable insight if you don't have quality data, right? And so what I think is really interesting about rolling out low-code solutions to teams and ones that have application suites that come with them, like Creatio does, is that all of a sudden you can start retiring other systems. You can consolidate quickly for all the reasons we've been talking about. And here's something that we haven't talked about with Creatio. It does have the tools for security, for finding duplicates, managing duplicates, supporting your data stewardship team if you're a little higher scale of an organization. And what it does is your transactional system is all of a sudden in harmony with your analytical systems platform. And so they can play very nicely together. There's no barriers. It's really getting the two teams together, making sure you understand the data, and then feeding your analytical platforms data that's good. And the other thing is taking from those analytical platforms, and I like the metaphor of the cockpit that Davey was using, pulling from the analytical systems back into the transactional systems so that your teams out in the field have the right information at the right time, and can use it that way. Before I close this comment, what I did want to mention about, really emphasize, is something that Davey said that would be easy to underappreciate. And it's that, because we're finding the same thing at Keen 360. It's that when organizations like mine are helping another organization implement Creatio, get it established, with low code, we're able to implement the technology faster than the business side is able to move, right? we are no longer the blocker for the timelines. And you can think of, and that the timelines, time to value, we all like that, right? But what happens is this frees up time to be spent on what is actually most important, which is organizational process design, right? Design questions become the topic, what we're investing, and then training too, right? So that point about so here's a metric for standard footprint of implementing a Creatio solution. We at Keen 360 are finding that for an enterprise caliber sales and service implementation, it takes us maybe, and your data conversions and systems integration, your mileage may vary, right? But for the core platform, 4 weeks of effort, right? But you can't do it in just 4 weeks because our clients can't move that fast, right? So it ends up being 4 weeks of effort over 6 to 8 weeks time, and it works very nicely. So back to you, Mike.
It's always worth restating the velocity acceleration that low code delivers, even if it's faster than others. So going back to analytics, you brought up a good point. Before I toss it over to Yuri and Davey, you brought up clean data. Let me mention just in 1 minute a quick agreement with you, because I work with a lot of organizations that in the transition to a low code platform have to deal with that dirty data. How can you make strategic decisions based on an analytical dashboard that's not accurate, right? The reason why that happens a lot in our world, my world, is a lot of people are dealing with what I call Frankenstein CRMs. Essentially, it's hard to make changes. Perhaps the people that made the initial configuration are no longer with them, and so they just keep adding fields, right? People just keep adding fields, required fields, not required fields. It's a Frankenstein CRM to where the data entry people are just trying to get to the next field, just trying to get. So in a CRM that may not be configured ideally, it kind of creates an environment of dirty data. So with a low code platform, being able to gather that data as intuitively, naturally, and simply as possible lends itself to accurate information in analytics. So having a user, the form pages that are simple to use is crucial. So I just wanted to throw that out there. We deal with a lot of Frankenstein CRMs, and we build a utopia scenario so the data can be trusted. So Davey, I'll give you the last comment before I come to Davey. Yuri, what are your thoughts about analytics within a low code environment? Thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think that having the right data, trusted data, is the core essential thing for the infrastructure. Once you have that, how you can turn it into the actual process for executing tasks. This is where the low code comes in play, where it's managing your activities and tasks and statuses and branching logic and all these things for you to execute those actionable insights that you've discovered through your data. I'll give you the practical example. So for example, you're a health system and you discovered through your patient analysis that this cohort of patients have certain risks because of their medication they're taking, their bio and vitals that have been collected through remote monitoring. Then what do you do about that? If your strategy is to put them on certain preventive care and have a treatment plan that has a digital component for managing their chronic care conditions, then it's essential to run this on a power of low code where you can create certain tasks at the right time. You can orchestrate the outreach to those patients. You can invite them for visits, and you can stay on top of that. So basically, your patients, depending on their situation, are going to stick to the plan that you've designed for them. And you can bring the education in. You can send some important materials to those patients to get them prepared and informed. Keeping them informed, it makes it easier to have them stick to the plan. And when you have your caregivers and medical specialists who provide and deliver the care, you do this alignment between their availability and the patient availability to make those meaningful interactions that are prescribed by chronic care coordination plan and whatnot. So this is how you execute on those data points using low code. And otherwise, what you can do, you can stick to your spreadsheet and you can pick up a phone or send email manual, and it's the old age. Nobody would do this anymore.
That's right. Welcome to the 21st century. Good insight there. And I'm about to announce the poll, and we're at the top of the hour. But Davey, please, in the last minute here, any final thoughts from you as far as low-code platforms wrapping themselves around other platforms for analytical purposes?
Well, analytical purposes. So David and Euro mentioned data, very important, right? So what I want to mention is that if we look at the user point of view, the data should be clean. No user should be handling wrong data, etc., etc. What I think is very important to mention for local Creatio in this case is that every user for himself can easily create personal dashboards as well. I think that's very important to know as well. You can easily create filters, and if you can create a filter, which is very easy, you can create your own dashboard, see your own personal information, because nobody cares what the CIO thinks, David. So I want to create my own personal dashboards, my own personal information.
And David, I just don't want us to leave the CIOs having heart attacks out there. Okay, so I want to emphasize that there are certain steps and disciplines that can't be skipped, and certain skills that can't be neglected. Because Mike, Mike R.
For a whole other hour on that topic.
Well, I like your
analogy. Wrap it up.
I like your analogy. I think we have a responsibility here, though, right?
Please, 30 seconds.
Frankenstein. You can build a Frankenstein's monster with low code. You can, okay? And if you just unleash folks to build whatever they want, right? You might end up in a worse place, a worse monster than otherwise. So you can't skip information architecture. You can't skip design. And I submit that you should not be working around your IT folks and professionals. I think that the beauty of low code is that they can work together more effectively and efficiently than ever before. Okay.
Speaking of working together, thank you. We never want to exclude IT. So again, another great point. You guys, these calls are never long enough. Do we have another hour? I don't think so. But great topics from everyone. Let me wrap it up here with the poll. We asked, where do you think low code might help the most? I thought all the above was my answer, but there is a definitive answer, and it is cooperate across team and business. Getting everyone on the same page. We haven't talked a whole lot about collaboration, right? People are sending emails in all different directions. Who's copied on this? What context was that in? Getting everybody on the same page at the same time in real time is very exciting. Great result to that poll. And as mentioned, guys, a great discussion. We're out of time, but we'll continue this low code marathon. Is that Eric? Are you back?
That's me. I'm back.
So
great
thanks
discussion, guys.
Yeah, thanks everyone. David, Davey, Yuri, thanks for participating in this. We love talking about low code, especially with you guys, but our time is up. So Eric, I'll pass it back to you.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, guys. Great lively discussion. I love it. It always brings up good points. So I'm sure we'll see you again. We got another day. I'm sure there's other sessions that we'll be seeing you guys on.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, so that brings us to, I gotta get rid of the polls here, brings us to our quiz for today. So here's your chance to win fabulous prizes. Again, my best Pat Sajak. So today's quiz consists of this question. How many custom apps are now developed outside of the IT department? Please submit your questions in the chat, and or not your questions, your answers in the chat, and we'll announce today's winners on tomorrow's session. So tune in to see if you've won a fabulous prize. Again, just a quick reminder, download our global report, the state of low code, no code. Very insightful information from a survey of over 1,000 leaders across the globe. We also have our 7.18 free trial available. both on our website as well as through the QR code that you can see here on the screen. We'd also invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where there's other great content that you can take advantage of. And please subscribe to our podcast, our Low Code Talks, which can be found on any of the platforms that you see below. And as just a quick overview of tomorrow's session, we will be focused on driving changes in business culture and human mindset. So we've got 4 great sessions tomorrow. Be sure to tune in and take advantage of the experts that we'll have online. So we'd like to thank everybody for joining, and we'll see you again on our next session.